That moment, it's already gone. By the time the electrical signal traveled from your retina to your visual cortex, by the time the neuron grew the shape of the letters, by the time understanding emerged, about 100 milliseconds had passed. You have never seen the present, not once in your life. Every sunset, every kiss, every face you have ever loved, you perceived it all with a delay. Light had already reflected, sound had already faded, the touch had already happened. But you were only just beginning to realize it. David Eagleman called this the delay of consciousness. The brain is an editing room where a movie is assembled from raw data, a movie you call now. Here's what's strange. If you are constantly lagging behind, how do you catch a ball? Why do you dodge a punch? Why doesn't reality fall apart? Because your brain is a prophet. Every second, your nervous system generates thousands of predictions about what will happen next. It draws reality before it actually occurs. And only then does it compare the drawing with incoming data and correct the model. When you reach for a cup of coffee, the brain has already calculated the trajectory, weight, and temperature. You are touching the future before it becomes the present. 100 years ago, Henri Bergson understood that perception is an act of selection, not reception. The brain filters out millions of bits of information, leaving only a tiny fraction. What passes through the filter we call reality. You are seeing your best hypothesis about the world, a hallucination that proved useful for survival. Daniil Zuev has a term that gives you goosebumps: controlled hallucination. The reality you perceive is a hallucination that the brain is constantly checking and refining. When the prediction matches sensory data, you feel reality. When it doesn't match, you feel surprise, fear, or madness. Take the blind spot. In the center of the retina, there is a hole, the place where the optic nerve exits the eye. There are no receptors there. You literally see nothing. But you don't notice a black dot in your field of vision. Why? Because the brain paints it over, completing the image based on context. It is doing it right now as you watch. Part of what you see is an invention of your own mind. And that is just the beginning. Light does not exist in the physical world. There are only electromagnetic waves of different lengths. Red is your personal interpretation. There is no guarantee that my red is remotely similar to yours. The mantis shrimp sees 16 types of color receptors. We see 3. Which of these worlds is real? Sound is the vibration of air. The symphony is created by your brain. A dolphin hears a world that does not exist for you. A bat navigates space through echo. For it, a room is sound. Smell is just molecules. The aroma of coffee that awakens memories is your neural poetry. Every species constructs its own version of reality optimized for survival. You see exactly as much as is needed not to die and to pass on your genes. A snake sees infrared radiation. The heat of your body glows for it like a beacon. A bee sees ultraviolet patterns on petals invisible to you. An electric eel senses voltage fields around prey. We are all blind, each in our own way. Everything you have ever experienced happened inside you. But now, stop. Listen to the buzzing of a bee. Look at it and try something. Do what I tell you. You can become aware of the image on the screen in front of you. Now, without losing sight of it, become aware of the screen, the phone, or the monitor, the hands, the space around you, the sounds that are present right now, the sensation of your body on the chair or in bed. the temperature of the air on your skin. Did you notice? You didn't switch between these objects. Conscious awareness held them simultaneously. All of this was already here. You simply paid attention. Attention is a strange thing. It can narrow to a point when you are absorbed in a task, and expand to the horizon when you look at the ocean. The objects to which attention is directed seem to be the main ones. The rest recede to the periphery. We mistake this for the structure of the world. In reality, it is the structure of the mind. And now, the voice in your head, the one narrating the words while you describe something. It seems internal, and the object of description seems external. The separation exists, but only if you compare. For something that is currently looking, aware, there is no boundary between the internal narration and the object of description. They cannot be if they are not. They are both present, both given, both here. The division into inside and outside exists only relative to the body, relative to the skull, the skin, the boundaries of the organism. But you are that to which the organism is given. In phenomenology, this is the intentionality of consciousness, a term from Edmund Husserl. Consciousness is always directed at something. It is never empty. And the objects it is directed at arise inside it, whether it be a thought, an image, or the so-called external world. If you expand this awareness to contain everything, the voice, the image on the screen, the hands, the room, the background sounds, the air temperature, as a unified field, as a single frame of existence, what then happens to you? The body becomes part of the picture. Thoughts become part of the picture. Everything turns out to be inside something that is watching. In the early 20th century, physics encountered something impossible. When scientists sent electrons through two slits, they behaved like waves, creating an interference pattern on the screen. But the moment a detector was installed to find out which slit the electron flew through, the pattern disappeared. The particle began to behave like a particle. The very fact of observation changed the result of the experiment. Niels Bohr was forced to admit, we cannot speak of the properties of a particle before measurement. Before observation, the electron is nowhere, everywhere and nowhere, a cloud of probability. Only the act of registration collapses this cloud into a concrete event. Einstein refused to believe it. God does not play dice. Bohr replied, stop telling God what to do. John Wheeler went further. His delayed choice thought experiment was later confirmed in the laboratory. The observer's decision, made after the photon had already passed through the slits, influenced how it behaved. The future determined the past. The experiment has been reproduced many times in laboratories around the world. The result is the same. Eugene Wigner believed that consciousness plays a fundamental role in the collapse of the wave function. His thought experiment, Wigner's friend, still causes debates. What if an observer observes the observer? Where does quantum uncertainty end? What does this mean? Philosophers and physicists argue to this day. One interpretation: reality crystallizes at the moment of perception. You are the co-author of the play you are watching. John Wheeler, co-author of the very same one associated with the delayed choice experiment, the very same one life, arrived at a radical idea. John Wheeler, he expressed it in 3 words. It from bit. He expressed everything comes from a bit. The end of his matter comes from information. You are the toward the end of his mean. Every field, every physical law, at its core answers yes or no questions. Is the electron here or there? Spin up or spin down? The universe, according to Wheeler, consists of answers to binary questions. Matter is a byproduct of information, not the other way around. It sounds like a metaphor, but physics gives this solid ground. The holographic principle, grown from the works of Hawking and Bekenstein, all information about a three-dimensional object can be written on its two-dimensional surface. A black hole stores information about absorbed matter on its event horizon, like a hologram. Some physicists believe that the entire universe works the same way. Volume is an illusion. Reality is a flat recording. Konrad Zuse, a computer pioneer, went even further. In the 60s, he suggested, the universe is a computational process. The laws of physics are algorithms. Particles are data. Space-time is the interface. Nick Bostrom in 2003 took the idea to its logical conclusion. If civilizations are capable of creating realistic simulations, and there are many such simulations, it is statistically probable that we are inside one of them. The simulation argument is impossible to prove, impossible to disprove. But the point is not even about simulation. The point is that the physics of the 20th and 21st centuries says with increasing confidence, information is fundamental matter. Bits precede atoms. Then the question arises, information for whom? A bit is an answer, but who asks the question? 400 million years ago, the first eyes appeared in the ocean. Light became information. There appeared something separate from the organism. It was an evolutionary explosion. Predators detected prey. Prey learned to hide. An arms race that created complex nervous systems, brains, and eventually, consciousness. But along with there, here appeared. To run from a predator, you need to know where you are. Where does your body end and the water begin? The boundary between me and not me is a survival tool. Organisms without this boundary did not pass on their genes. Antonio Damasio has been studying this for decades. The sense of self begins with a map of the body and the brainstem. In the heartbeat, breathing, temperature, position of limbs, the brain constantly models the state of the organism. This is the proto-self, the feeling that there is something that can feel good or bad. Then comes more. The cerebral cortex adds autobiography, memory, plans, a name, a social role. Layers of self grow like tree rings, but this whole construction is for survival. The brain draws a boundary because without it, you cannot distinguish food from poison, a partner from a predator, your body from another's. Here is the question, friend. The boundary is useful, but is it real? The cells of your body renew constantly. Atoms come and go. In 7 years, there is an almost complete replacement of matter. Where are you in this flow? Boundaries are blurred at the level of molecules, cells, even organs. The microbiome of the intestines influences your decisions. Evolution created the sense of a boundary because it is useful, just like the sense of color, just like the sense of time. But useful does not mean true. The map is not the territory. When you stand before a mirror, you see your reflection, and you automatically assume that you are the body in the glass. Wait, what else do you see in the mirror? The room, the walls, the objects around, the light from the window. Have you ever seen your body without the world around it? Or the world without your body? Throughout your entire life, from the first glimmer of consciousness to this very second, the body and the world are given to you together, inseparably, simultaneously. You cannot subtract one from the other. When you fall into dreamless sleep, both the world and the body disappear. When you wake up, they appear together, as a single data packet. So why, looking in the mirror, did you decide that your reflection is only the body? Why not the whole picture? You were taught. Since childhood, they pointed at the body and told you your name. You poked a finger at the reflection. There is you. And the room, the world, the space were ignored. That was around you. A small child seeing a mirror for the first time does not single out the body. He sees the entire reflection as a unified whole. He doesn't yet know where he ends and the world begins, because that boundary does not exist. Psychologists call the moment of recognizing oneself in the mirror a turning point. Before it, the child experiences himself as something diffused, without clear edges. After, he receives a boundary. He becomes an object among objects. He loses wholeness for the sake of survival. Hindu tradition describes this as primordial ignorance, the identification of the infinite with the finite. Eternal consciousness confuses itself with a temporary form. The boundary is a social agreement, convenient, practical, necessary for survival. But you are that in which the world and the body appear. The mirror reflects the content. Consciousness, which you call yourself, is the capacity. The hydrogen atoms in your cells are the same age as the universe. The hydrogen are 13 billion years old. Age is the universe. They emerged in the first minutes after the Big Bang, when the cosmos was hotter than the core of any star. Carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, the elements from which you are built, were forged emerged in the thermonuclear furnaces of dying giants. Age is the universe. When a star explodes as a supernova, it scatters its substance across the galaxy. From this dust, planets are the universe. From planets, oceans. From oceans, planets are born. Life. The iron in your blood formed in the final day of the life of a star that shone billions of years before the appearance of the sun. The calcium in your bones passed through several stellar cycles before settling in your skeleton. Carl Sagan said, "We are a way for the cosmos to know itself." From the point of view of physics, this is exactly so. The universe spawned you as its extension, its organ of perception, its nervous system, grown on one of the grains of sand on an infinite beach of galaxies. When you become aware of the starry sky, the stars become aware of themselves, through eyes that they created over billions of years of the evolution of matter. Hydrogen compressed by gravity became a thermonuclear reactor. The reactor birthed heavy elements. Elements became planets. Planets, life. Life, consciousness. The anthropic principle in cosmology puts the question squarely. The universe is such that an observer could appear in it. Constants, laws, initial conditions, everything is tuned so that consciousness would arise. Is it chance, or is consciousness the goal of the cosmos and not its byproduct? Meister Eckhart, 13th century. The eye with which I see God is the same eye with which God sees me. For these words, he was accused of heresy. He pointed to what all traditions knew. In the Upanishads it is said, Tat Tvam Asi, thou art that. You are that which you sought. Rumi, you are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop. Buddhism calls this Indra's net, an infinite web of gems where each stone reflects all the others. No center, no periphery, mutual reflection. Neuroscience has shown you are a construction of the brain. Quantum physics. Reality depends on observation. Cosmology. The observer and the universe are one system. All roads lead to one point. Neuroscience. The brain constructs the self from a stream of data. Quantum physics. Reality depends on observation. Three different languages, one and the same riddle. Thomas Nagel's question is still without an answer. What is it like to be a bat? You can study its brain, record every neuron, build a complete map, and still not know how it experiences the world from the inside. It is the same with you. Science can describe every process in your brain. But why is there someone who experiences this at all? Why isn't it just biochemistry in the dark? Erwin Schrödinger formulated it like this: consciousness is the only thing that cannot be explained in terms of something else, because everything else is explained in terms of consciousness. This is the open question of science. Right now, while you are watching this film, atoms and stars are processing information. Quantum fields fluctuate. Electrical impulses run along neurons. Somehow, out of all this arises this experience: you. How it works, we do not yet know. But the very fact that we can ask this question is already miraculous.